Welcome. It's your man, God Dots, and we are back with another kickback before the kickoff. Hope you have had a very good week. It is the weekend. It is the weekend, big sports weekend, and I will do some recaps of last night's game to kind of start off the show. But tonight's episode will be primarily focused on NIL and sports. Is it a problem? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Has it changed the way business is conducted and things are handled in regards to sports? That is kind of the crux of tonight's show, but I want to kind of start off talking about last night's game. Dallas Cowboys with the win, costly win. D-Law will be missing a couple of weeks. Michael Parsons also goes down with injury. Let me say this. I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm, Cowboy, for life. That is the fan part of me. The analyst part of me is when I turn on the microphone for the show. But the fan part of me is I'm glad we got the win. How you doing, Miss Murph? I'm glad we got the win. But am I satisfied with the performance? No. You beat an inferior team, which you should be doing anyway. You should be taking care of business like that against a team that is as bad as dysfunctional. How you doing, Dr. Nikki? As bad as dysfunctional as the New York Giants are. Good job shutting down the run game last night, but it's not like New York is known for having a consistent run game, especially with the absence of Saquon Barkley this season. Let's kind of start. Let's pump your brakes. Cowboys fans, we gotta win. We gotta win, but some of the same problems in regards to the offensive continuity. Listen, the Giants have a pretty good defense when you look at the personnel, but a lot of drives was stalling. A lot of drives was ending off with field goals. Game was a lot closer than it should have been. That is a game you should have went out there on short notice. You don't need to know that much. You're very familiar with the team. You have a winning pedigree against a team like that. But listen, I'll take the win. I'm not going to say it's a bad win, but if you walked away from that win thinking, oh man, the season's turned around, you were sadly mistaken. You are sadly mistaken. It's this fandom, not just being associated with the Cowboys. This is fandom in general. But listen, I'll take it. 10-day break, work on some things, figure out what the situation is. As far as I know, D-Law will be out for multiple weeks. How many weeks, I do not know. Michael Parsons for a high ankle sprain. He'll be out for a couple of weeks, and you have a very important stretch of games coming up next month. Next game is against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are currently undefeated. Also have Detroit coming up on the calendar. Also have San Francisco coming up on the calendar in October. It could be dicey. Could be dicey, but congratulations on them for doing what they were supposed to do, and that's beat the Giants like everybody else is supposed to also. But enough of that. And if someone can remind me towards the end of the show, it won't be a long show. I don't believe so. But if someone can remind me before the end of the show, I do want to kind of give some of my week 4 picks before we kind of get into it, because I'm really I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm really looking forward to college football this weekend. Georgia, Alabama. Enough said. Roll Tide. I'm looking forward to that. Kind of like the meat and potatoes of my weekend. It will be the college football. Now that my NFL team is out of the way. But anyway, we've talked about this topic on this show several times, throughout the course of the history of this channel. NIL deal, how it's kind of changed, how it has kind of affected sports, some of the nuances of it, how is something that has been evolving and changing since its inception into the landscape of sports, not just on the collegiate level, but even more so now on the high school level. On the high school level. And the question was posed for, the topic for tonight's show's question. Question was posed by, one of our very own, loyal supporters of the show, Gator Girl, who said that, she, and I kind of took it that, she thinks, and I may be wrong because I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I think she is some of those part of those that group of people who are, I would say, traditionalists in the grand scheme of things, thinking with players having, the NIL deals and money being infused as a motivating factor where young men and young women go to continue their athletics outside of high school and pursue it on the collegiate level, as they hopefully in their hopefully transition to professional. But how it has changed the landscape of how things used to be done on a collegiate level, and to include in that, it seems like a healthy, a healthy mix. It was like the perfect storm when you include the changes that were made to the transfer portal to allow players the opportunity to, you could transfer back then, but it is so much easier now to transfer. Whereas in previous iterations of transferring to NCAA, you had to sit out a year. Had to sit out a year while you transfer to another school. Now it's pretty much, I played for this team last season, I want to play for another team this season. Transfer portal is where it's at. Player may get there, may have, and this is, I would say this, the transfer portal and NIL, I would say this, and to help support her argument in regards to how business is done. And let's be very clear, very frank. That is how business is being done. I would say this much. It puts more pressure on coaches. It puts more pressure on the universities to compete for the services of for the services of the student athlete. And what I have seen, and then I'll talk about the most recent example of how this could lean and support her argument on it. And me, I like to be the devil's advocate. I like to play the contrarian, so I will be taking the other side of the argument to help support her. How you doing? My opinion. Welcome to the show. To help support her argument, it is put more pressure on the schools to find different ways to compete, and it puts more pressure on coaches when you go into these kids' houses and you're recruiting them, you're talking to the coaches, and the whole recruiting process and all that goes into the time and effort you put into recruit the player to your school. It has now become even more important to understand, the days of, you come here and you could be a star, or you come here, we can give you, XYZ, playing time, you could be a starter if you push, like in the days of kind of selling, I would say, selling some of those dreams. I'm just going to say dreams because it's if you can't guarantee. I mean, look at Arch Manning. I'm pretty sure in his recruitment, they was telling him that you're going to be the future of Texas football. You'll be starting sooner than later. And it was talks of him possibly transferring this past off season, but it puts more pressure on them to fulfill those promises because in years past, without the NIL. Players would just, have to either you was going to sit and be behind some guys, in their, junior and senior years. And, hopefully you get your opportunity to start and, you run the risk like, yeah, you can transfer a young man, but, you'll have to sit out a year. And, in the eyes, when you're talking about the young college athlete, you're talking about, 18, 19, 20, 21. And we're going to kind of keep it focused on the college football aspect of it, but we're talking young men who are not eligible to drink and buy cigarettes, and telling them, hey, you have to wait, sit out a year, not play the sports you love, not get exposure, because your goal is to hopefully make it one day to the league, and you used to miss out on that. Yeah, you can transfer, but you had to sit out a year. Now, with how the transfer portal has changed, where a player can transfer and be playing for another university next year, like I said, schools and stuff are having to work harder. It is also made it where it's almost, and I would say this about the NIL and transfer portal and in conjunction with each other, it's almost looking like from the outside, unless you understand the particulars. Well, we're gonna talk about the NIL for high school. Dr. Nikki, trust me, we're gonna talk about the NIL for high school because even that has changed over the course of the last couple of years. But once again, back to the college football. It was a recent story. It was a recent story coming out of UNLV. Let me see if I can pull up, because I don't want to. Give me a second. I should have had this read. Okay. Give me just this. I should have had this ready, but it's a story coming out of UNLV. Starting quarterback has walked away from the program as of right now. Give me just a second. Let me want to find the short clip of it. He walked away from the NIL issues, and here's the thing: he was a player that was there on an NIL deal. You want to give me a second? Why ain't too many of y'all here? Yeah, and UNLV quarterback. Just give me just a second. I should have had this already, but you know me. Um, I just want like this short clip. Oh well. Uh, oh well. I thought I had it, but anyway. Let me just read from the article. NFL UNLV quarterback Matthew Sluka has left UNLV. He left earlier this week due to claims of unfulfilled verbal NIL promises from an assistant coach, not a head coach, an assistant coach. Um, uh, and this kind of goes back to help support the argument. Why our one get a girl reason why we're having tonight's show is that the NIL is messing up things. You have an assistant coach who has allegedly, I was going to say allegedly, is because we have not been able to confirm this or story as far as did he do this or not. Had an assistant coach allegedly tell this player, you will be getting $100K NIL deal. And how the NIL deal kind of works, for those who are not aware, they pay you, but it's typically like you look at the NIL as an endorsement deal. You get paid for like appearances at stuff, paid to appear at different kind of functions and support of different kind of sponsors, stuff like that. So it's not like they're just cutting you a check and it's nothing that comes along with it. That's how NIL kind of works. With this player from UNLV, starting quarterback, very good quarterback. I wouldn't say first round, but very good quarterback for UNLV is walked away because allegedly he was promised $100K by an assistant coach. Head coach knew nothing about it. School allegedly knew nothing about it. No word of confirmation. What's going on? What's going on, TC? But the coach, the head coach and the higher ups knew nothing about this deal. And the player says, you know what? I'm not getting the paper that I was, told I was going to get. I'm out. He's gone. He's left the team. What that does to a school, to a football team. Hey, your starting quarterback leaves. UNLV is currently undefeated, having a pretty good start to the season. That throws their season in disarray when you put so much time and effort into spring practices and that kind of stuff for a player to say, I ain't got my bread. I'm out. This is the new world. This is the new world of the NIL. This is the new world for college football. And listen, and Dr. Nikki brought up this point earlier, and I had to do my research, and I know she can appreciate that. But this the guess. I want you to kind of think about this, and if you want to type it in chat, that's fine. How many states? How many states have embraced that coach should have been fired? Listen, it hasn't been confirmed or denied because you got the word of the player and you got the the staff. No one has come out identified the assistant coach. It's presumed that he did that, but we don't know. But then again, how NIL deals work and that kind of stuff in the recruiting process. NIL is part of the recruiting process. Who do you designate to be the one to say, hey, we're going to give you XYZ on NIL deal? Is that the responsibility of the head coach? And those who have extensive knowledge of how recruiting goes, the head coach is not going to every recruit's house. A lot of times the recruiting is done by assistant coaches, by the coaching staff and the lower people. The head coach may show up for a key 5-star, maybe 4-star prospect from time to time. But listen, if you believe that Deion Sanders is in every young man's home that he is recruiting, you are sadly mistaken. Recruiting is a process that takes course throughout the season, even in the off season, where they're speaking with the high school coaches and all of that kind of stuff. So it's quite possible. It's quite possible that the assistant coach did that. And that raises the problem, like who should be in charge of when we're talking about NIL, because it is part of the discussion when we're talking about recruiting. Who should be in charge of that? Um, should it be the head coach? I mean, do you really want to run the risk of losing out on a prospect? When that part of the conversation is brought up, when that assistant coach is in the home, like what is the NIL deals that your school is offering? And he's, is he authorized to inform them, and this what you could possibly be looking at? Is that overstepping his bounds? It's a lot of murkiness in the water in regards to that. It's a lot of murkiness on, but I want to kind of move on just a tad bit, and we'll round back around to it in the grand scheme of things. High school sports and NIL. It is more prevalent. It was more prevalent when you do the research, and you can just type in like how many states allow NIL deals for high school athletes, high school student athletes. There are now currently, as of July of this year, 38 states that allow some fashion. We're not talking about the NIL deals that college athletes are getting, but allow some fashion for high school athletes. And every state kind of differs as far as the regulations are concerned, but it's 38 states that allow NIL deals to be offered to student athletes. Once again, you have those that feel like this is overstepping the bounds, and you have those who are on the other side where I'm for it. I'm part of that group that is for it, whether it be the minority or the majority. I am for it, and this is the reason why I say that I am for it. And it goes not just for high school, but it also goes for college. Also, these schools, these universities, are raking in millions and millions of dollars off of the talents and exploits of these athletes. And for so many years, you saw, players, especially, was going to kind of, I'm flipping here. I'm flipping. But you saw players, hey, we offered you a scholarship. That should be enough. And a lot of times that was enough. But we've also seen universities. We've also seen schools. I'm looking at you, SMU. I'm looking at you, USC, where you had alumni and boosters, offer, unauthorized sums of amounts of money and things such as, cars for family members and that all kind of extra stuff. All kind of extra stuff to the student athletes, and or by proxy through their families, to entice them to come to the school. So business has been going on, but for so many years it was under the table. It was kind of not talked about, because it was ramifications if that kind of stuff was found out, not just for the school but also for the student athlete. Looking at Reggie Bush, who right now has an open lawsuit, basically against the NCAA, because he feels like with the changes of NIL and acceptance of the NIL model, any transgressions that he have in the past should be kind of wiped away from the books, because this is the business model that is publicly being displayed. And it was, I think this is kind of the business model that was happening way before it became authorized. But yes, Dr. Nikki, 38 states in our great United States allow some form of fashion of NIL deals. But like I said, I'm for it. And the reason why I say I'm for, like I said, not only the money, but I believe a young man or young woman should have the freedom to choose where they want to go to pursue their athletic interests. Not to say that the student athlete is not concerned about the academics, but let's be clear. Um, you know, a 5-star football player that has dreams of the NFL is not looking to go to an Ivy League school. He's not looking to go to a school that is, let's say, Vanderbilt from the SEC. He's not looking to go there, and bolster his profile to make it to the NFL. Trust me, and it's the reason why those schools have the kind of relevance in college football that they do. And Vanderbilt is a SEC team, but you wouldn't know it half the time by the product. They put out some pretty good players from time to time, but for the most part, Vanderbilt is known for its academics, not for its football team. I wonder how many players guys stiffed out of payments before the official NIL deals. Listen, that is a question also. That is a question also. I think it'd be before the NIL, before it became official. I think a scary number of players. There was made promises by alumni and boosters. If you come here, we'll give you, we'll give your family a brand new car, or we'll put them up in the house, and just for you to get there. And like say you get injured in spring practice, then all of a sudden, yeah, we got you because we gave you a scholarship. You can't really come out and say that we offered you anything, as far as the boosters and alumni and those people on the outside of the program officially. You can't come out and say, we offered you this and we're not going to give it to you because you're not performing to what we thought you was, or you got hurt or something. Like you could, and the player knew, if I came out and say they offered me this, my collegiate career for the most part was over. So yeah, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a startling high number of players who got stiffed out of quote unquote the old fashioned NIL deals. But look at the situation going on with UNLV and their player. He's playing the start of this season thinking, I'm just waiting for them to bring me the paperwork so I can get my 100K. Because listen, this is the business model of college sports. I'm waiting for the paperwork for that, and this guy promised me this, and now you telling me you know nothing about it. It's not coming. I'm not getting it. Yeah, I'm out of here. I'm like Harvard. Yeah, I'm just saying. If you have a young man or young woman, a student athlete that has aspirations of one day making it to quote unquote the league, whatever that is, and whatever sport that is, and making it big, the academic profile is I wouldn't say it's not important, but let's be honest. Kids are not enrolling at Alabama for the academics. You're not screaming roll tide to play on the football team because of the academics. It is a pipeline to the NFL. Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck. Give me a good sip of water. Yeah, but high school, I know some people were kind of against it being in high school, thinking it would be a problem. It would get in the way of the primary focus for a young man or young woman, for that matter, being in high school and focusing on I guess the purest aspect of the student athlete, but is definitely secondary. Yes, it definitely is definitely secondary, and I'm grown enough to say, yeah, I can accept it. But high school, I have it kind of. I agree with NIL being in high school to a degree, but each state has their own kind of regulations, so it's not like wide sweeping where they're getting the same thing like college. But I agree with having some form and model because you know so let's say Texas. Texas is known for high school football, much like Florida is known for high school football. A lot of schools, through deals with sponsors and that kind of stuff. Listen, some of these schools in Texas, as far as like high school, some of the facilities that they have are, borderline on the level of some universities. And we're talking about high schools. Um, so it's money to be made. They're making money. I think players should be compensated if they're able to be compensated in some form, fashion. Nothing too crazy. I don't think you should be offering some high school junior 100K to come play ball at your your high school. I don't think we should be at that extreme, but why not reward the student athlete for helping to um, build the program. And when you build a program, endorsements come, sponsors come, partners come. Um, you're helping to enrich the facilities of the school that you're playing for. Why not give them a little kind of kickback? I'm on board with giving them a little kickback. Nothing too crazy though. Nothing too crazy. But listen, I'm on board. In the grand scheme of things, when you look at NIL, when you look at, and I'm switching back and forth, but I'm switching back to college right now. When you look at the NIL, when you look at transfer portal, I think it was sorely needed. Um, I agree with allowing these young men and women to have more control over their lives and their destinies. If that's what they choose to do, and at the end of the day, whether agree with it or not, you agree with players being like, let's take University of Colorado had 30 transfers come in through the portal this past off season. Whether you like it or not, you're thinking it's ruined the integrity of the game. um, if you think it's messing up how college sports and how traditionally it was, you built the program up, kids stayed there, um, and you went to the school, and it wasn't no NIL deals and money being talked about openly. If you miss that world, um, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry, but this is the way it is, and I, for one, agree with players being allowed to have more freedom of movement, more control over their destiny, more control over their athletic careers. And I think it's healthy for a young person to understand that, I look at it as a maybe early lesson in life. And I don't want to say being a student athlete is a job, but in the current landscape of things, you can learn some work habits, work skills, I would say, from being a part of that system. NIL and the transfer portal it is a business. You have to make business decisions. You have to look at what works for you, what is right for you, what is right for your image, your profile. um yeah, I mean, setting you up, I look at it as this kind of set, I mean, in an indirect way, when you kind of think about it, it kind of sets you up um as you transition, if you're able to transition to the pro level, where you're looking at people coming at you with different sponsorship deals, and like, is this right for me? Should I endorse this product? It's I like it. I think it's something that has been sorely needed. I've always felt like universities had too much control over um the student athlete, and with the rising salaries and the money that was this pouring into college sports, and players being told, we giving you a scholarship, that is your compensation. While roll tide, while you had you know head coaches making 10+ million dollars a year, and all they're doing, listen, they're not teaching any classes, they're not like the gym coach. No, I'm here to coach football. That is it. And for the rising salaries of head coaches and the coaching staffs alongside with them, the TV money that was coming into the to college sports, the deals that like, listen, SEC network, Big Ten network, like a lot of these conferences, have their own TV deals, have their own network. That's money. But it doesn't happen without the student athlete going out there and performing. Um, to trust me, you're not getting the SEC network, you're not getting the Big Ten deal from gymnastics, volleyball. Let's be clear. So there's some college, soccer. You're not getting that kind of money. Let's basketball and football. In regards to collegiate sports, as far as the money coming in, that's where a lot of it is coming from. But I just feel like with the all the money that is floating around and everybody's pockets is being lined. It's been long past due that the player who helps contribute that, you gave me a scholarship, but you made $1 million off my jersey sales. I mean, even with the recent release of the college football game, NCAA 25, love it, still play it. I'm on my third season now with Jacksonville State, trying to rebuild a side note. But even with that, this EA Sports has made over I want to say already over $500 million since the release of the game, and all players got was $600 in a copy of the game. Well, they're still, and they're not going to get any more money off of being in that game. So, like I said, I have no issue with it. I get it. What's going on, Spider? I get it. It's uncomfortable to see, so many people in the transfer portal and, the constant talk of NIL deals. But listen, this is the way of the world. This is the way of the world. This is business. At the end of the day, yeah, you want the guy to be there because you want him to support your university, and you think he's doing it for the love of the game. Listen, it's business. The coach ain't coaching for free. They're not televising it for free. Sponsors are not pouring in money for free. Why should the player have to take less than when he is, let's keep it a buck, he's the engine driving the car. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, and I think with its expansion into college, not college, but its expansion into high school, why not? Why not go ahead, start the process of getting, even younger student athletes ready to step into that business model. If they're on the level where we're talking about NIL deals on a high school level, why not go ahead and give them an early education with a lot of restrictions? It is more restrictions in regards to NIL in high school. Well, but why not go ahead and get them prepared for what the world is about to hit them with once they transition, hopefully, into the collegiate side, to where they're familiar with how NIL deals work, how endorsement deals work. Why not give them that early education, give their families that early education of what that looks like? Okay, my son is a high school basketball player, star. My state has NIL deals, we're looking at the deals where they're offering this much money, but they're asking him to make this many appearances, and that's not something that, like, why not give them the early education, early access to what that world is going to look like once you transition to the collegiate level? And I'm sorry, Gator Girl. And this is me being a contrarian. Now, one day we might revisit this topic. But I have no problem with the transfer portal. I have no problem with the NIL deals. I think it is here to stay. Now it still needs to be tweaked. It still needs to be tweaked, but I am one that is about player freedom. I'm a one about enhancing the power of the player in this business model, because that's what at the end of the day, that's what it is for the student athlete. Yes, you have the student side of it, but you have the athlete side of it, and the athlete side is business. So why not empower them and give them more leverage on where do you want to go, where do you want to play? And much like the school likes to bring you in and show you this, and we can, hey, what can you offer me? What can you offer me as far as endorsement, NIL money? What can you offer me? I feel I'm worth this. Can you offer me that? If not, if that's what my primary objective is the money, why can't a player pursue that goal in the recruitment process? Why not? Why not? But that's about it. Like I said, I'll be kind of tuned in tomorrow. Big college football game, Georgia, Alabama. They don't meet every season, especially during the regular season. So, but my prediction is roll tide. What about player development, discipline, and continuity? I hear you. But that, I think, that falls more alongside of the school and the program that they create, Dr. Nikki. That is a very good question, but I don't think an 18-year-old is worried about continuity. I don't think he's primarily focused on player development. He's like, look, I want to be in a place that one, I can play and show off my talents. Um, and two, I want to be, get the opportunity to make it to the league. Um, I don't think that, I don't think that's the primary focus of the player. I think that needs to be the primary focus of the program, right? Um, you come here where we'll teach you. I mean, let's say the process for recruiting for Alabama. If I'm a defensive player and I'm being recruited by Alabama, I know, hey, they put a lot of effort into player development. I know it is a disciplined program because that's what I'm seeing, that's what I'm hearing, that's what's been reported. If you go to Alabama, it's not the wild wild west. The guys are being prepared for the next level. If you're good enough, and they know it's some continuity there. Like, hey, all I need is to get to, hopefully my sophomore junior year, get out there, showcase my skills, and I could be looking at being a first round pick. I think that falls, that stuff kind of falls more alongside of the program and the university. I wouldn't put that pressure on the 18-year-old. It's like, hey, why are you transferring? Ain't you worried about player development and continuity? Like, nah, I'm trying to get on the field. I'm trying to showcase my skills because I want to move on, hopefully, to the next level. And being at this university ain't cutting it. And I got an opportunity to go somewhere else where, I might get that exposure and it's more conducive for what I want as a player. Why not? Why not? I mean, that's a very good point, Dr. Nikki, but I think that falls along, the responsibility falls with the university, to kind of stress that. And I don't think that pressure should be put on the player, to be concerned about that. Not that they shouldn't be aware of it, but I don't think that's their primary concern when who was Georgia head coach name? Kirby Smart. When Kirby Smart decides to come to your living room as a 5-star athlete, I don't think you're worried about that. But that's why they use social media, right? Um, yeah, they use social media, but like I said, um, I don't like I said a player, a high school athlete. Listen, I'm trying to make it to the next level. You know, um, when they're getting offers from schools and stuff. Listen, like let's say one of our esteemed alumni over here, the good brother Speak Easy, Little Speak. They're sending him stuff. Trust me, they're not thinking about continuity and that kind of stuff. Like they're just gonna like, we want you to come play here. We're offering, this scholarship for you to come play here, and all that be damn. Like, I think that's on the school to have that kind of stuff, that kind of structure in place. I wouldn't put that pressure on the player to come in. You would hope they would come in with that kind of a mindset to be where they're focused on those things, but yeah, nah. High school, coming from high school, I'm playing at UGA because I want to make it to the league, and and this is the best opportunity. They recruited me. I think this is the best opportunity for me to get to the league. And at the end of the day, that's the goal. I want to get to the next level, and then I want to get to the next level. So I don't begrudge them for that. So schools do better. You won't find, if you do better, you work on what kind of structure you have going on as far as NIL, who can offer NIL. The way you don't find yourself in a situation like UNLV is now, where your starting quarterback is, but I understand your point, but it's a team sport, not a me sport. Yeah, I get it. It is a team sport, Dr. Nikki, but at the same time, and I'm in business, and I hate to say it like that, but I want the team to succeed, but I also want to look good while we're doing it. So it is a bit of selfishness involved in that team concept. I want us to win, but at the same time, I want us to look good doing it. Okay, let's say, we're Cowboys fans. Case in point, CD Lamb. Um, I want us to win, but I want us to, start. Let's say start wide receiver. I want us to win, but I want to look good while we're winning. I mean, this is kind of like it's a team sport. But if I'm not getting my touches, if I'm not part of, if I don't feel, and this is just the feeling, I don't feel like I'm a major part of that success. You have those kind of problems. Primarily you kind of see that stem up from wide receivers when they're not getting their touches. Team can be 7-0, but you ain't giving me enough targets because I want us to win, but I want to look good while we're winning. I mean, it's a bit of selfishness in there. It's a bit of selfishness in there. But anyway, let me close out tonight's show. Like we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming. I believe so next week. I believe so next week. But if something changes, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Um, but anyway, let me get my behind out of here because it has been a good week. I just want to kind of chill out, relax, go play me some NCAA, and you know, relax. Those that know. Um, but anyway, end you off, and as always, like, share, subscribe. If you have a topic, as always, if you have a topic you want me to kind of approach on the show, feel free to leave it in the comments and whatever. I'm open to it. I do my best to kind of present that in the form that is palatable to your taste. But it's always appreciate is always love. And let's end out with the phrase: sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but every time you learn. And I'm out.